Hello and welcome to our micro course on securing your C++ projects. Today we'll learn why hard coding credentials can be risky and how environment variables can be a safer alternative. We'll also cover how to prevent passwords from accidentally leaking into GitHub. Now let's dive right in and secure your projects. Let's look at a common mistake. We can find here a function that logs into a third-party API, and this function is being called passing the API secret key. Can you tell what's wrong with this piece of code? As you might have guessed, it's the hard-coded API key right here. Now, let's see how this sensitive information is leaked into the code repository when the file is pushed. Anyone with access to the repo can see the sensitive information. This is especially dangerous if the project is open source or the repository is not well secured. Now, let's see how we can fix this problem. First, we'll separate the secret information into a new file. Next, we will add the secret information file to the gitignore file in order to prevent it from being leaked into GitHub. Finally, we need to replace the secret key in the C++ code. The problem now is that API key is not defined. In order to use environment variables in C++, we use the getinv function from the std library. We need to save the result into a new char pointer, which might be a null pointer if the environment variable is not set. Running the code at this point shows that we have a logic error when trying to convert the null pointer into string. So, we need to modify our function to read from the char pointer directly, and we also need to make sure that we base our response on whether the API key was a null pointer or a valid one. As we can see, the code now compiles successfully, but API underscore key now resolves to a null pointer. That's because we have not set the value of the environment variable. Now, keep in mind that C++ does not read the .env file out of the box like other programming languages. So we need to make sure we are loading the .env file into our environment variables. For the sake of this course, we are going to use a function that loads the .env file as is. As we can see here, the function is called load environment variables, and it takes the string of the environment file path. It opens the file at the file path, reads it line by line, finds the position of the first equal character which separates the key and the value. It then checks if a key is found, extracts the key and removes the spaces before the equal sign, which really means that it's removing the padding of the key name. Then we extract the value, which is everything after the equal sign. And finally, we set the environment variable based on the platform, because this command is different between POSIX and Windows. Finally, we are going to call this function and give it the path to our .env file. Now let's run our code. As we can see here, we get a message saying successfully logged in with API key, and it shows us the API key. Now keep in mind that logging sensitive information is a bad practice. We are doing this just to make sure our code is working and for the sake of demo purposes only. So this way we have actually tested both paths of our login function. Before, it said that API key was not provided when the API key was a null pointer. And now it's saying that it's successfully logged in with the API key. Keep in mind that this function is for demo purposes only and it's not actually logging into any APIs. Before we wrap up, let's shine a light on another huge plus of using environment variables, which is handling different environments. Think like development, testing, and production, without ever needing to recompile your code for each one. It's pretty awesome when you think about it. Imagine, for example, switching from a test database to a production one without touching your code. All you need to do is just change that environment variable, and there you go. So as we close, remember that environment variables are your allies in securing sensitive information and making your application flexible across all environments. Thanks for sticking with me, and here's to making our code as secure and as adaptable as possible. Keep coding, stay secure, and most importantly, stay curious. And I'll catch you next time.